Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update. Actually quite a bit to cover here, but we'll get into it in just a second. One thing I did want to mention was that some of the channels that I follow had recently started mentioning at the start of their videos, like these percentages that you can see in your video analytics of sort of the percentage of viewers who are subscribed versus not subscribed. And when they posted theirs, most of them were like in or around sort of like 60% not subscribed, 40% subscribed, or maybe like 55-45. And then I checked mine and it was, as you can see here, 75.8% not subscribed, 24.2% subscribed. And obviously that means that less than a quarter of the views on my channel are from people who are subscribed to me, meaning that more than 3/4 of the views are from people who aren't subscribed. Now, I tend to in my videos not really ever like ask you guys to subscribe. Part of it is just that I forget and I'm just so focused on the content that I never do the sort of promotion stuff, but I thought this was just an extreme enough of a number that I just thought I'd bring it up here. So, obviously it's been a goal of mine on the channel for the last while, like pretty much since I hit 5,000 subscribers, to get to that 10,000 subscriber milestone. Since I hit 8,000, it's been definitely rising a little bit slower. So just, if you are part of that 75.8% of people who do watch the channel and aren't subscribed, just consider subscribing, I guess, and help the number get up towards the 9,000, and then of course the overall goal of 10,000. But that out of the way, let's get into the news. So as was pointed out in the comment section of my last news video, where I talked about the release date change for the Smoke and Shadow Omnibus, people pointed out that the book that was always had the same release date as this, which is the Book 2 art book 2nd edition, it also has had its date changed by a week. So it's also coming out now on the 5th of October. So that's completely to be expected. Obviously, as I talked about before, that is likely just down to the kind of shipping crisis that's kind of ongoing and getting worse. And especially, I think, in the publishing industry, it's particularly bad because it's not just the shipping thing, but it's also like a printing crisis as well. So some combination of getting the books printed plus the logistics of getting it into the stores has meant that it's got a pretty late in the game date change, but it's not too big. The book should still release without any problem. So just to be aware of that both basically the two of the most recently upcoming books do have slight release date changes, from moving from the end of September into early October. Again, the stuff that we're waiting for immediately next is the wall calendar, which is coming out on the 21st. That's actually going to be pretty exciting. I'll have a video on that when mine arrives. And the volume 2 of the Screen Comics, if you are interested in that. But just that's a quick one there. Next, another new exclusive Avatar Funko Pop. This time, as you can see, it's an Ozai exclusive, specifically Ozai from Sozin's Comet here. So it's a shirtless, ready for battle Ozai here, and it is an exclusive for Chalice Collectibles. As you can see, it says here $20. I haven't seen officially it's stated by either Funko America or Funko Europe that it's like exclusive to anywhere else. They haven't even mentioned it at all, which I think they usually do with these things. So I'm not sure if it's just the case that because it was announced over the weekend, Funko didn't really get around to it or not. But as you can see here on their website, it seems to still be in stock. There's the main image and there's the image of it in box. It's going to be number 1058. And yeah, it seems pretty cool. Obviously, the scene that this is representing, which they always tend to go for something that is directly taken out of the show. You're wondering like, when does Ozai do a pose like that? The best I could find was this. I know it's not a great screen grab here. I'm pretty sure this is just a non-keyframe, but you can see it's the general idea of like it's Ozai punching into the ground, a fire sort of explosion coming out of it, and he has his other hand in by his sort of like chest in a way to sort of control his breathing. Ozai, who you usually interpret as being more of the sort of angry sort of firebender style, doing a little bit of a controlled kind of pose here. So it's kind of cool to see that exact scene here be represented. So that scene is basically it's the opening opening exchange of the fight with Aang. This is pretty much the first thing he fires at Aang, basically. So kind of cool there. I definitely would like to get this one. Again, I'm not going to be ordering from Chalice Collectibles, just because ordering from America is always a bit of a mess, especially with how things are now. So I am hoping to find somewhere in Europe that has it. Hopefully they'll reveal over the next few days where it is exclusive to, if it is exclusive to anywhere in Europe. But yeah, just to be aware of that, we recently had, of course, the Azula exclusive. Now we have an Ozai exclusive. So the Avatar Pop's definitely doing very, very well. And the expectations are only going to grow in terms of expectations for the next wave and so on. So yeah, that's that. Next up, a new piece of merchandise here. It's a sort of combination figure and book. So it's, you can see it doesn't even have like a proper title necessarily, but it's called Avatar The Last Airbender Appa Figurine. This is from the publisher Running Press. Specifically, I think it's part of their RP Minis kind of line of books. You can see here, trade paperback. It's got a retail for $14.95. It says here in the description, on sale August 2nd, 2022. In the picture it says on sale May 2022. Not sure what the details are there, but let's go through the description here. An officially licensed collectible figurine of Appa the Flying Bison from Avatar The Last Airbender. Show off your love and appreciation for Aang's adorable and loyal Sky Bison with this flying Appa collectible figurine. Unique flying figurine, 3-inch Appa figurine with translucent plastic support post and base to make it appear that he's flying. Includes sound feature. Figurine plays Appa's growl. Illustrated mini book included. Learn about your favorite characters with this 32-page 2.5 by 3-inch mini book of profiles, trivia, and color art from the show. It's the perfect gift for Avatar fans. And so this is kind of cool. I guess it's kind of like a bit of a gift book style thing where you're primarily buying the figurine, but it does come with like a little book just with some information on the show. I did take a look at like, okay, what are they really talking about here? So if you go to their RP mini section, you can see the style of things that they're doing here is that like, here's a talking bobblehead. So it's got the sound effects and it comes with a book. You can see here's like an Elvis kind of thing where you can see it comes with an Elvis book and an Elvis figurine. So the Appa one, I guess, is going to be something along these lines, though they describe it as being in a sort of flying pose. So I guess you'll just have a base which will support the figure, and then the figure will probably have some sort of a button on it where you can activate some sort of a sound effect. It seems interesting. Obviously, we need to see what it looks like. It's nearly a year away, if this is correct. It's still quite a bit away, even if it's only May 2022. But, you know, it's something to keep an eye out for, because this could be a kind of just a fun little thing to get. It doesn't seem overly expensive, and it's a rather unique product, I guess. Just an Appa figure that has sounds. Kind of cool. So in a gift set style thing like this, we're going to get Appa. So it just highlights everywhere getting the Avatar license, every sort of merchandise possible we are getting. Next, and again, probably the biggest piece of news here in the video, New York Comic Con have finally announced at least one Avatar thing they're doing. I'm guessing because they're making such a big deal about this, they're calling it a top panel. This is the only Avatar thing we're going to see. Now, I don't know, this could come down to a thing where maybe there is some sort of a comic panel and they're just hyping this one up because it's about the podcast. Who really knows? But as you can see here, other top panels include Avatar Braving the Elements live from New York. Enter the amazing world of Avatar live from New York Comic Con. Join the co-hosts, podcast hosts, Janet Varney and Dante Vasco for a live taping of an all-new episode. co-produced by Nickelodeon and our iHeartRadio official companion podcast, extends the world of Avatar for loyal fans and those discovering the series for the first time, featuring Janet and Dante along with special guests, so no one announced just yet. One-of-a-kind panel explores every element of the Avatarverse, including origins of the story and how the Avatar was brought to life. Saturday, October 9th. So, is this actually an exciting announcement or not? For me, the way I interpret this is that this is basically the typical panel we would usually have for Avatar, but there's a little bit more behind it now because of sort of the podcast hype. Before, it was, what did they call it? Like the Exploring the World of Avatar and Korra panel or whatever it was. You can tell it still basically has the same general type of description. It's just they're now using the word Avatarverse quite a bit. And of course, there's more support behind it because there's this official podcast. And I guess what it means is just that I suppose going forward in terms of panel moderators, Janet Varney and Dante Bosco are probably going to play that role for any official stuff that really does happen going forward. Do I think this is going to lead to news? No, unless Mike and Brian are guests at this thing. If they're not, then I think, like it says, it probably is just a normal episode that they're going to have a few voice actor guests on, and that's really going to be it. It's one of those ones where, like, I like the podcast. I do listen to it every week, but I will say it's often not the first thing I'll listen to. Like, I listen to quite a few podcasts, and well, even though like it's an Avatar official podcast, this one kind of tends to maybe be one of the final ones I listen to, unless there's something really big as the focus of the episode. In that, say, last week's episode was just the standard plain 107 review with just Janet and Dante, and it was fine, but I didn't think the analysis was anything fantastic. On the other hand, say like the second part of the Mike and Brian interview, and also the Brian and Sifu Kisu interview were really, really good podcasts. I think the best review that they've done is the Warriors of Kyoshi review, because they actually got Jenny Kwan on and they had her be part of the review and not just a separate interview. So I think that's sort of the best thing that they have going for them. I really, at this stage, don't feel like there's really going to be news at this thing. I just get the impression from Braving the Elements that it's not really meant to be the news podcast. Like, they happen to have an interview with Mike and Brian, the first real comments from them since the Avatar Studios announcement, so they asked them about it. But, you know, they're not talking about anything new that happens in Avatar. They're not really mentioning the comics and stuff like that, and that's probably maybe the slight flaw of the podcast. I think needlessly feeling like it can't talk about anything that happens, because they're really trying to keep it like spoiler free for people who haven't seen the show, which is kind of like, I get it to a certain degree, but because of just like how old Avatar is, it just kind of feels like a bit of a weird approach to have, that you constantly need to, like, especially on the interviews, interrupt the guests whenever they start to mention something that they haven't got to in the reviews yet. And that's what I'm wondering about here, is just that, is that limitation going to be here on this episode as well? That they can't mention the comics and stuff like that because that technically spoils stuff that happens in ATLA, and Korra, or what. I doubt they're going to review an episode. So I think this will just be the New York Comic Con special type thing, where they're going to be there with a crowd, because people can go to New York Comic Con. I think there's some limitations on how open it is, but people will be there at the panel. And I think this is just meant to sort of be that thing where, like, Braving the Elements is one of the first, you know, official hype kind of new Avatar things that they've done, and here's their first opportunity to really use that in a way. I don't think this will be where we get comic reveals or anything like that. I don't think there really will be Avatar Studios news. I'm open to being surprised, but I just, the style of this podcast and stuff like that, I just don't think that this is necessarily what it is. Unless closer to October 9th, the description of this changes and they really make it clear that, like, oh, they've got all the big people you'd want on this, then maybe I'd be a little bit more behind it. But I don't see this being where any of the major announcements and stuff like that happens. I do more think that this is hype for people who are super hyped about the podcast. I'm not particularly, so this doesn't really do much for me. I'll listen to the episode, I guess. They say it's going to be live taping. Like, does it say that they're going to stream it? We'll see. That's probably going to be the other thing. I guess either way, you'll be able to listen to this eventually, even if they don't stream it live. We'll see how all that goes. But yeah, I think Brian's comments from like the last news video that I did of like, oh, it's going to be years before you see anything, probably was something that I think brought pretty much everyone really down to earth of like, oh yeah, probably nothing then, I guess. So for me, it's just a case of, I hope that Dark Horse uses New York Comic Con once again as a time to say something, to announce something. I get that there is issues with, like I said at the start, scheduling and publishing of books, and that's probably the reason we have stuff like an indefinite postponement on a book like Beasts of the Four Nations, and at this stage it probably is why there are what seem like heavy delays in terms of announcing Avatar Korra comics and a new novel. But this is the first, I suppose, big con that's actually going to have people at it. Use the hype that there is there to make some announcements. We'll see what happens. But that's pretty much everything that I want to say here in this. Janet Varney did post about it as well, just saying that you know they're going to be there with special guests. We'll see who it is. And then the only other thing I think about Braving the Elements is that I think they said at the end of the last podcast that their next episode, so the episode that's actually going to release tomorrow, is going to have Zach Tyler Eisen on it. So I don't think they said for sure if it was just an interview or if it was a review. I'm guessing it's just going to be an interview, so that could be interesting. I know a lot of people are very interested to just hear him speak about Avatar for the first time in who knows how long. So that could be quite fun for the next podcast. But October 9th at 2:15 Eastern time. There's the specific timing of it. So yeah, there we go. We'll see if there's anything. So let me know what your thoughts are on, I suppose, the Ozai Funko Pop here. Whatever this is going to turn out to be. But I think I explained pretty well what it's likely going to be. And the New York Comic Con panel. What do you think? Do you think there's any hope for anything, or is this just going to be a podcast with the New York Comic Con hype behind it? But that has been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.